Layla. I'm so sorry for not promoting this, but I hope the people that need to hear it do. So, cholesterol 101. So this is a topic that I am not an expert on. It's something that I've personally done more research on, I would say lately, in the last year or so. I have done more research because of fat burners' curiosity, especially when we use grass-fed butter, MCT oil in our coffee. That's typically something that has triggered a concern or wonder at the very least. Hi Jeff, hi my dear. But at any rate, I wanted to share some things that I have picked up over the recent past, and then I just did a little deeper drilling down for this particular talk. So if cholesterol is something that's either been a wonder to you, something that's worrisome, hopefully this is actually really useful. So cholesterol is not the enemy. It's not inherently bad. The body makes cholesterol to build cell membranes, to produce hormones. Hi Karen, hi my dear. Like estrogen, testosterone, cortisol. Cholesterol helps to make vitamin D. It creates bile for digesting fat as well. So about 70 to 80% of cholesterol is made by the liver, not eaten from the food, not created from the food that we ingest. The real question is how cholesterol is being transported in the bloodstream. So basically, HDL and LDL, this was new news for me, are basically the transport systems for cholesterol. So cholesterol travels in lipoproteins. So they're like boats that are carrying the cholesterol through the bloodstream. So high density lipoprotein, that is a transport system. Low density lipoprotein is another type of transport. So it's the transportation system that we actually really are looking at, not the cholesterol in and of itself, just for your own information. So basically, HDL stands for high density lipoprotein. That's the good cholesterol. So why it's the good cholesterol is because it acts like a cleanup crew. So it picks up excess cholesterol and returns it to the liver for recycling and removal. One thing a lot of fat burners know is that the liver filters cholesterol. The liver also filters estrogen, which is a hormone essentially. In general, the more we have, the more fat we have on our frame. Higher levels of HDL are generally associated with a lower cardiovascular risk. Thank you so much. LDL stands for low density lipoprotein. This is our bad cholesterol. LDL's job is to deliver cholesterol to tissues that need it. Still inherently good. The real issue is the type of LDL particles, and this is something that I've been aware of, I would say it's been within the last year. So there's two types, and this is a big thing. So when people have blood work done, they just get these blanket numbers for each category. They don't have the LDL broken up into the two types of particles that it is comprised of. And this is something that's really consequential. So we'll talk about why. So if we get anything from this, if we get one thing from this talk, ask your doctor what the LDL is comprised of, the percentage of these two different types of particles, which we're going to talk about. So pattern A is the large, buoyant LDL particles. They're also called big, fluffy particles. And so the characteristics of these are that they are larger, they're less dense, they're less likely to penetrate the artery walls, less likely to stick, to cause a blockage, and they're less associated with cardiovascular risk. These are the big, fluffy particles, large, buoyant LDL particles that make up, that are in your LDL block. These can increase when people eat more dietary fat, especially when carbs are lower. So this is something I know a couple fat burners have had a concern about, where their LDL went up, but it was for two reasons. Potentially, we don't eat a ton of fat, but we do eat some fat for sure. So when you're eating more dietary fat and when your carbs are lower, your large, buoyant LDL particles, big fluffy particles that are less associated with heart cardiovascular risk and are not likely to penetrate artery walls will go up. So LDL numbers can go up on paper as a result of this, but the risk is not necessarily higher. Pattern B is the thing that we really want to be aware of. So this is the small, dense LDL, low density lipoprotein block. These are the problematic ones. So the characteristics of these are that they're small, they're dense, they easily penetrate artery walls, they're more prone to oxidation, which basically creates degeneration. Oxidation tends to happen with inflammation. And they're more likely to contribute to plaque formation. Small, dense particles. So these particles are what are most strongly associated with atherosclerosis, so artery plaque. So what increases small, dense LDL? That's what we really want to know. And so this is where people, they stop eating eggs, they reduce their butter, but it's not dietary fat that actually increases small, dense particles. But newsflash, what does is a high carbohydrate intake, especially refined carbohydrates. So things that we might normally wish to be reducing if we are in this group and we have an awareness about our waistline, but this is the shit that actually increases small, dense particles in our cholesterol. Sugar, white flour, ultra-processed foods, high triglycerides, insulin resistance, oh dear, inflammation, metabolic syndrome, this is like on our way to diabetes, a sedentary lifestyle, smoking, and chronic blood sugar spikes. That was really surprising to me. So what I love about everything we freaking learn here is that eating less often, having a lower carbohydrate diet, being set up to use your body fat for fuel is so freaking preventative. You just sidestep this bullshit because you're not reliant on carbohydrates and you're not inadvertently keeping insulin high, creating a issue state with insulin resistance. You're stepping away from things like diabetes and metabolic syndrome, and you're eliminating things like blood sugar spikes because you're both eating a lower carbohydrate diet and you're eating less often. So your blood sugar is more stable inherently. So creating lower, small, dense particles like this, or heart disease, or the concerns about cholesterol, it's not just cholesterol levels, it's metabolic health, which again is what fat burning helps to create. So why fat burning often improves cholesterol? So fat burning helps to lower our triglycerides. HDL often increases, which is protective for the heart. Blood sugar stabilizes. inflammation goes down, and small dense LDL particles often decrease as well. And so this was something too. So if LDL is elevated, that tends to reflect, if we are fat burners and our LDL goes up, I've already said this, but it can be both. It reflects the large buoyant LDL versus small dense particles. That can be a result of dietary fat. But there's also something, researchers call this lean mass hyperresponder physiology in low carb fat burning states, that our big fluffy particles can increase. So the liver's role in this, and this is something, again, like I've known this for a long time, that the liver filters cholesterol, so it can help bring us to a healthier range for our cholesterol. But it's the central hub of cholesterol metabolism. It both produces cholesterol, I didn't know that. It packages cholesterol into lipoproteins. It removes cholesterol from circulation, did know that. And it converts cholesterol into bile, didn't know that. Healthy liver function helps regulate cholesterol balance, did know that. This is something that we help with in Fat Burning Pro and Fat Burning Pro Extended. Some of what we do is we support the liver in a big way. Detoxification is something that is majorly connected or consequential in weight loss. And so that's why I aim to incorporate something that would be highly supportive for the liver to help in the detoxification effort. But anyway, but this is like, and this too. So this wasn't the point, but it helps with this stuff majorly. So additionally, in addition to just supporting liver health directly, other things that support liver health are stable blood sugar, thank you, adequate protein, please oh please, a gram per pound of lean body weight, at least, would be amazing. At least 100 grams for a woman a day, at least 150 grams of protein for a man a day. Micronutrients, those are our supplements that we use in Fat Burning Pro Extended. Reducing inflammation, same shit. Supplementation, a lower carbohydrate diet, less insulin in the body, eating less often, and avoiding excess of sugar and alcohol. I wanted to talk about statin drugs a little bit too. This is something that I've had a lot of attitude about because statins are something that are meant to lower cholesterol, but don't actually address why cholesterol is elevated. And a lot of people still die from heart disease that are on statins. So statins work by blocking an enzyme in the liver, which reduces cholesterol production. So they do reliably reduce LDL levels, but keep listening. However, it doesn't address the root metabolic drivers such as insulin resistance or inflammation. This is like the kicker. People can still develop heart disease while on statins. They come with side effects, typically muscle pain, fatigue, blood sugar changes, which is part of the problem with cholesterol levels, actually, is blood sugar spikes, liver enzyme elevation, and severe, I don't know what I wrote right there. Sorry. I've also heard memory issues when people take statins. I had a massage client many years ago who's a lawyer, and his doctor pushed him to get onto statins because of his cholesterol levels. And he was not only experiencing muscle pain, but also memory issues. And he just made this statement. He's like, I'm a lawyer. Like, I can't forget shit. Like, this is not really such a good move. So one little thing in my research to like ground me, I'm not a big fan of medication. I feel like if you need to use something for a short amount of time for your like acute whatever, that's how I see the benefit of modern medicine. But otherwise, let's fix the system so that you don't need to be reliant on something forever. People can have different situations, not a doctor, not a scientist. But anyway, so statins for at-risk populations, high-risk populations, they've already had a heart attack, they have severe, severe gastric cholesterol disorders. I don't know if that's the word I want to say. Severe genetic cholesterol disorders. These can reduce cardiovascular events. So people that are in a pretty tough situation to start, statins can be useful. And maybe that's true for almost any medication. It's like if things are dire, if you are highly compromised, then like any help that can reduce the situation sounds like a good move. Fair enough. Not a long-term solution. So lower cholesterol numbers, but not necessarily, so statins lower cholesterol numbers, but they don't necessarily correct the underlying metabolic issues that contribute to heart disease. So just good to know if you are in a situation where you're wishing to change your cholesterol profile or to help yourself in the effort to either reduce your risk of heart disease, to prevent your risk of heart disease. It's always your metabolic underpinnings, not just the symptom, not just the fact that you have elevated cholesterol. It's like, well, what is going into that? What, to what degree, to what type? And then how are all of these other markers that are the things that actually perpetuate it? So the big kind of like summation of this is that heart disease is not simply a cholesterol problem. That's why people are fixated on it, because it seems like this is the issue, so this is the thing that we actually need to address. But it's not the only thing. It's a marker, and then once again we need to be clear on the thing that actually is indicating more of an issue, the small dense particles, not just LDL as a whole. The issue, heart disease, the problem with it is more of the fact that it is a metabolic health problem. It's not just a cholesterol problem. And so the elements of metabolic health that create heart disease are insulin resistance, inflammation, blood sugar instability, triglycerides. So these are the things that drive up cholesterol that can negatively impact the heart, but it's the metabolic health that is contributing to that, not just cholesterol. So when these increased, when these patterns change, heart health changes too, for the better. And so here are just a couple little like wow facts that I came across as well. Half of the people hospitalized with heart attacks have normal LDL levels. So even if, like, not to, create a scare that ripples through my community, but even if you have normal LDL levels, it doesn't necessarily indicate that your metabolic health is in good standing and that your heart health is in good standing. Triglyceride to HDL ratio is often a stronger metabolic health indicator than total cholesterol. That's useful. There's so many tests that I feel like are done that don't actually reflect what's really going on for people. And I'll just say like one thing, I'll just say this last little wow fact. HDL tends to rise with exercise and a fat-burning metabolism. That's like your protective, healthy cholesterol. So But this test, triglyceride to HDL ratio, is often a stronger metabolic health indicator, than total cholesterol. So my point here is that often we have tests done that aren't the most accurate assessment of the thing that we're trying to assess. So for example, this is one, triglyceride to HDL ratio versus just total cholesterol. And then another one that's done is around blood sugar, your like fasted blood sugar. But really what we want to be looking at is insulin levels. And so fasted insulin would be more reflective of what's going on metabolically than fasted blood sugar. And so that's just one thing. And I'm going to say this too. I got into this because of weight loss. So that's what I know best. This additional like aperture opening in my world around bigger health implications and impact is newer knowledge for me. And so like it's all positive, it's all fantastic. But my focus has not been Western medicine and how we, assess or diagnose or treat like the underlying issues of bigger diseases. I've been more focused on what causes weight gain, what prevents weight gain, but what I knew that prevention is like three things. And so that would be your diet. So whether you're eating in a fat-burning lifestyle, lower carbohydrate, moderate protein. What do I want to say? We don't eat a ton of fat, but it's in there. Eating less often, that's really consequential. Eating twice a day or once a day for some of us, that's really best. That's my opinion. Or a higher fiber diet, slightly more carbohydrates, less fat, moderate protein, always the same for everybody. And hopefully in that way, you are still eating 3 times a day, not 6, not more. Exercise, walking and weights, that would be amazing for everybody. And then pharmaceutical grade supplementation. And what I mean by that are vitamins and minerals, at the very least a robust multivitamin every goddamn day. Like that's kind of it for prevention. So I knew that fat burning was like absolutely hitting all these 3 things, but what I didn't understand for a very long time is how much it creates metabolic health. So I'm newer to the party, not that there's like anyone really talking about this avidly, about the fact that like this creates that, and metabolic health prevents all of this other bullshit, or it heals all of this other bullshit. So regarding like being aware of what tests do what, like that's not my world, because I'm not receiving them. I'm not suffering from high levels of cholesterol. And what often happens for the people that I work with is that things just improve. I shared something in my story today, a lovely lady who finished her program in November, and she said something about, going to her doctor, having blood work done, and that her cholesterol is like 100 points lower than it was the last time she was checked out. I assume maybe an annual exam. But anyway, it's exciting. And so I say this because I'm learning about this stuff too, even though I've been living it for 13 years and people around me, their health has improved, but to understand the details is newer for me. So anyway, that is kind of the moral of the story. So cholesterol 101. Cholesterol inherently is not a bad thing. We need it for building cell membranes, to produce hormones, to make vitamin D, to create bile, for digesting fat. Most of the cholesterol is made by the liver. There's the division, HDL versus LDL. HDL is happy, helpful in our body. Cleanup crew picks up extra cholesterol, lowers our cardiovascular risk. LDL is the one that we want to be more aware of. This is the one that delivers cholesterol to tissues that need it. Cholesterol is like what I've heard it likened to is like spackling, like joint compound, like it patches things up. So the truth is, if you have more cholesterol being generated, that tends to indicate inflammation. And then what I know is that sugar is something that can be actually quite like irritating, a little abrasive in the blood vessels. But anyway, and then within the LDL, we want the big fluffy particles. Those are cool, totally fine. They don't increase the risk of cardiovascular disease, but the small dense ones do. These are the ones that easily penetrate artery walls, more prone to oxidation, more likely to contribute to plaque formation. And the things that drive that are insulin resistance, inflammation, metabolic syndrome, sedentary life, smoking, chronic blood sugar spikes. So heart disease is generated by that shit, not just your cholesterol levels. Okay? And so things that support this: stable blood sugar, adequate protein, micronutrients, reduce inflammation, avoiding excessive sugar and alcohol. And so the root drivers are what we actually want to look at. And so insulin resistance, inflammation, blood sugar instability, triglycerides. And what's wonderful is that fat burning is something that addresses all of them while you're losing weight more comfortably, easily, being less hungry, not having cravings, having an abundance of energy. So it's like you get this beautiful, sexy, like palatable win-win. Like you get the cherry, you get the carrot, you get the reward, and you get this big fucking payoff. You get to look better, you get to feel better, you get to live longer, you get to function well, and you get to protect your health and improve it at the same time. So if you are a conspicuous consumer and is someone that wants one-stop shopping, that wants to simplify health while reducing your waistline in a very comfortable and streamlined process, I would totally encourage you to learn more about fat burning or to consider Fat Burning Pro. So we have a 5-week and a 13-week program, depending on kind of like everyone is going in the same direction. My goal is to create fat burners for life because this lifestyle is so easy, comfortable, we're natural, we're made to do it. Anyway, but you get more skills, you get deeper in this mode with having more guidance for our longer program. But anyway, if any of this is interesting to you or compelling or clear in terms of what would be a better state for your body to be in, please check out our sugar quiz. See what percentage of fuel you're using, sugar versus fat. It can be super eye-opening. And the truth is, it's like, depending on what fuel you're predominantly using, we're either kind of going in one direction or the other. So if you would like a lifestyle that is flexible, freeing, helps you to lose weight, makes it harder to gain it, and helps your health in really big ways, please consider fat burning. Check out our sugar quiz, watch the videos following, and set up a free time to talk. This stuff is so black and white. And the truth is, when you start to kind of turn down this road and put different things in place in your body, you look better, you feel better, you live longer. It's like logic is there. Okay? So that's it. Hope that was amazing. Hope they're was some nuggets in there that were clear and digestible, retainable, and useful. All right, that's it. Thank you for being here. Love to you. And until next time.